So Garrett, this is the BLS ambulance. So the main difference between the BLS and the ALS ambulance, obviously, number one is the size. This is a lot smaller. BLS ambulance is used by our EMTBs and our EMTAs. So the only real difference between the EMTB and the EMTA is a few medications and a couple procedures. Any call the ALS ambulance can be dispatched to. We could be dispatched to. So some days all you're going to run are kind of low priority, mid priority calls. Some days you may not have paramedics on, so you might be the only person responding to things like a cardiac arrest, a heart attack, a stroke.
Okay, so just kind of be prepared for whatever comes our way.
Absolutely. So currently we'll just wait for dispatch. Generally though, IRL, if you wait for dispatch, you're not going to wait in the ambulance. We'll go hang out upstairs.
Should we eat some cardboard? Is this the kitchen?
Yeah, man. This is our fancy kitchen. So this is top of the line stuff here. We get it from the cardboard factory, kitchen products. Absolutely wonderful stuff.
10-4, proceed en route, code 32, Charlie 3, 110 Jefferson Drive. Gas station attendant called in reporting a middle-aged female had fallen, bleeding from the back of the head. The victim is conscious at the time, saying that she is dizzy and her head hurts.
So lights and sirens, code 3?
Absolutely. So EMS is one of those rare departments where every call we get is a lights and sirens response. Unfortunately, dispatch information, they do the best that they can with what the person tells them. But if they're trying to maybe cover something up, maybe they don't want to tell you exactly how bad it is because they know the police or somebody might come. They're going to leave out details. So we tend to try to get there pretty fast just so that we can get there quick, assess the scene, and see what we need to do. All right, so basic fall, we're going to grab two things. Number one is your red bag, your primary response bag, and then you're going to grab the orange bag, which is the trauma kit. So we'll go in, we'll see what we got, and see what we need to do for the patient. And if need be, if the patient is really critically ill, we'll go ahead and call for the paramedics to get down here. All right, so let's go see what we got.
Yeah, so there's like a wet spot here on the floor. But to get around to it, she kind of fell, slipped, and hit her head. She hasn't gone up since then.
Okay.
She wanted to. I told her to stay down on the ground because, I didn't think, getting up when you're dizzy and, bleeding from the head would be a good idea.
Can you tell me how long she's been down for?
Only a couple minutes before I called 911.
My name's James. This is Garrett. We're going to take care of you today. So, sir, let me ask you a few questions. Did you see when she fell, so she hit her head, did she hit any other part of her body?
Not that I'm aware of. I didn't even see it happen. I came out of I heard a noise. I was in the back room. I came out and she was already on the ground.
Same thing when we deal with people who have fallen is we want to do what we call the head-to-toe assessment. So, as said, you start at the head. Check for any kind of, bleeding, any broken bones, anything you can possibly find that could be a danger to the patient.
Do we work our way with their arms first?
So it's really preference of the provider. Me personally, if I'm doing this in real life, I go from the head. I check the neck. So in the neck, you're checking to make sure the airway's patent. There's no airway issues. I'll move down to the chest and the abdomen because those are the two areas that are really next to the head. They're your two most vital areas. So it's really important to get those two areas assessed. And then after that, we'll go to the feet and then we'll check the arms. So if the patient's bleeding at the back of the head, obviously the most important thing we can do is get a dressing on it. So this is where the RP aspect of everything comes in. We'd go in our bag. Depending on how bad it's bleeding, we really have a couple main options we can use to stop bleeding. My personal favorite, I like to start very small. 4x4 gauze pads. Generally, as long as the patient's not bleeding too bad, you can put a couple gauze pads on there, give it a good wrap, and then that'll control the bleeding. Bleeding from the back of the head, complaints of feeling sick and dizzy. So definitely if she's feeling sick and dizzy, we are definitely going to worry about a concussion. So the big thing now, after we've bandaged her head, is we're going to get a neck collar on her. We're going to want to keep what we call C-spine immobilization. Anytime a patient has an injury to the head or the back or even the neck, we don't want to have that person move around a lot. We're going to put her on a backboard, put her with a C-collar, put head blocks on, strap her down to the board just so that we definitely don't possibly risk any paralysis, any further injuries, or even in some cases we don't risk killing the patient. Yep, so definitely broken arms. So for you have the trauma bag, and we're going to RP this. If you want to grab me a splint, and we'll go ahead get a splint on her. So the most important thing with splinting is that we can keep injuries the way they are, not make it any worse. Other than that, though, you're really going to make sure you monitor this patient. Watch their airway, especially because if she's feeling sick and dizzy, she could vomit. If she does, she could create an airway obstruction. So What we're going to do is we're definitely going to get her to the hospital pretty fast. Best thing we can do now, grab the stretcher, grab the backboard, and let's get her going on down to the hospital. Especially since she's been bleeding, it's a good idea to check her blood pressure. If it's low, that could indicate that she's got some pretty heavy blood loss, and we might need to then start an IV, or we might want to call the paramedics in to administer other medications. What I'll have you do is I'll have you ride in the back with her.
Okay.
Monitor, keep taking vital signs, and we'll go from there. All right, man, we'll get you on the stretcher and take you to the hospital.
1F23 dispatch.
And when I'm monitoring, what is the main stuff I'm looking for a change with?
Yeah, absolutely. So the main thing you're looking for is any changes in her blood pressure, her heart rate, her oxygen saturation, so the amount of oxygen that's in her blood, and then her respiratory rate. When you're monitoring a patient, the vital signs, you want to see their blood pressure around 120/80. Heart rate, we like to see anything in between 60 to 100. Respiration, 16 to 18. And then your oxygen, anything above 94 is good. Yep. So we'll start going to the hospital here. A patient like this absolutely is lights and sirens back to the hospital. We'll call her a priority 2. There are 3 priorities, 2, 3, and 1. 3 is no lights, no sirens. 2 is lights and sirens. It's not life-threatening, but it's a pretty serious call. And priority 1 is light, sirens, and a little bit faster speeds. It's an absolute emergency.
So when it's like priority 1, that means that minutes matter or even seconds?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
priority 1 is like code 3 for FD and PD.
316.
So now we've got the patient to the hospital. Most important thing we can do is get her inside, hand it over to the doctors. A patient like this, in real life we'd call her trauma alert. So we would call the hospital. We would have them have a trauma team on standby, which is generally a lot of doctors and nurses that'll be there to better assess the patient. They'll do scans, they'll do blood work, they'll do all kinds of advanced techniques if need be to save the patient. A lot of times what will happen is the moment we're wheeling the patient in, there's at least 2 doctors, a couple nurses, a couple techs that are in the room waiting for us, and they're each assigned a role. So one doctor might be in charge of managing the patient's airway, one might be in charge of medications, imaging, lab work. They're each given a designated role so that the moment the patient comes through the door, there's no, oh, what's my role? What am I supposed to do? You already know what you're supposed to do, and it makes the whole thing go a lot smoother. So let's say our patient just has some stomach pain. So we'd bring the patient into the room. The nurse would ask, for a brief report on the patient, anything we did en route, anything that the patient, said that might be concerning or might be important to them. And then we'll get what we call a transfer of care signature. So they'll sign a little tablet that we have, basically saying that the care of the patient is now theirs and we are free to leave.
So you're pretty much just handing over the responsibility.
We call it the transfer of care. So means that the patient is no longer our problem, it's now your problem. That's it in a nutshell.
All right, pretty straightforward.
Bls 105.
BLS 105, go ahead, dispatch.
Proceed en route code 3. Foxtrot 6. Sandy
Ooh.
Fort, nearest postal is going to be 20. For an unresponsive female down by the lifeguard post.
BLS 105, copy. BLS 105 to dispatch. Roll an ALS company out there due to the patient being unresponsive, please. This is one unresponsive patients. Sometimes it'll be absolutely nothing, but whenever you hear unresponsive, I personally like to have a paramedic at least en route.
So talking with the caller currently, caller reports supposed to be a teenage female. They appear to be sunburned. They can't give her water or anything. There's no one else around. There's no lifeguard at the post either. Currently, all they've managed to do is get them into the shade.
So this is definitely a pretty serious call. I mean, a lot of people don't think, a sunburn's that bad, but based on the call, what it sounds like, she might be suffering from a heat stroke and some dehydration. So as soon as we get on scene, the most important thing we can do is make sure that her body temperature's not too high, and if it is, start cooling her down immediately.
And how would we go about cooling her down at a fast
Cooling her
speed?
down, we'd give her IV fluids. We would use ice packs, get her in the ambulance and crank the air conditioning up.
And would that be like a
BLS 105,
chemical
go
ice
ahead.
pack?
It would be, yeah. BLS 105 control, be advised we're on scene. So for this one, Garrett, I'm going to have you grab the med bag. I'm going to grab our cardiac monitor and defibrillator. So
Okay.
on the BLS side, you're really just going to use this for vital signs, whereas as a paramedic, I'm going to use this to take a look at somebody's heart. I'm going to, if need be, shock them with a defibrillator. It really just depends. So it looks like our patient's over here.
I was just walking down the beach, looking for whatever for my metal detector, and I just found her just passed out on the ground over here.
Does she have any friends or family with her?
I didn't see anybody. It's literally just her out by herself.
How's the skin feel, Elias? Hot, hot to the touch, or?
Oh yeah, definitely hot.
All right, I'm gonna grab a set of vital signs.
Should I start with the inspection?
Yeah, let's start with the inspection. Let's see if we can find anything else that might be wrong with the patient.
Mitigate to control.
Let's go ahead and start IVs. You want to get one in that arm? I'll get one in this arm.
Yep.
Big thing for her, at least, we need to cool her down immediately. She definitely is dehydrated. She definitely needs, to be cooled down. So what I'm going to do, and you can do this as well, on any patient, you can start an IV. But the most important thing is in your med bag, there are some ice packs. So when you're trying to cool somebody, ice packs go under the armpits, around the neck, and then one place a lot of people get a little uncomfortable placing them, but it's actually one of the most important places to do is in the groin area. So those are the areas of your body where you lose heat the fastest.
Sounds good. And would we take off the shirt for this, or what would we go with that?
So in a case of a patient like this, we're going to take off shirt, pants. We're going to get them as, honestly, free them from whatever might be trapping heat in so that we can better cool them down faster. I'm going to grab the stretcher, guys, just so we can get her to the hospital quick.
Okay.
At this point, Garrett, we have a paramedic with us, and the main thing now, since he's here, is asking the paramedic, hey, do you think you should come with us for this patient? Because ultimately, kind of what the medic says goes, since they're the highest level of medical authority on the scene. Landon, what do you think? ALS, BLS?
Yeah, I'll end up riding with you on this one.
We'll go ahead, pick up the patient, move her back to the ambulance. I take her pretty quick to the hospital. What priority are you going to want medicate?
Either 1 or 2, I'd say.
We might as well take her as a 1. We'll take her 1 heat stroke alert. Yeah, let me go grab the monitor. Garrett, if you want to jump in the back with Medic 8, you can ride in the back with the paramedics, help them out with anything that they might need. Just remember to cool her down, but don't cool her down too fast because you don't want to induce any kind of shock on her. ELS 105 to dispatch, transporting priority 1 to the hospital.
And so because this is priority 1, you'll be going as fast as you can, but still trying to stay as safe as possible.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as we saw, this ambulance is a little hard to control. ELS 105 on scene. Medical box Charlie 3 at 110 Jefferson Drive for sick person ALS. Okay, ambulance 77 due to respond at 2148.
Ambulance 77 responding.
Okay, ambulance 77. Medicaid ambulance 77. Responding to assist the county coroner on scene. Original call was for a dead body. Upon arrival, patient was alive, however, severely ill, difficulty breathing. Location will be 110 Jefferson Drive, inbox Charlie 3 at the gas station. All units be advised, we are now receiving reports. Patient unknown illness. Use appropriate PPE when responding.
Alright, we are currently on our way to the call. Not too much further to go. It seems like it's going to be at the gas station up ahead. Ambulance 77 on scene.
So we'll go through the rundown of what we got. We have a female patient. Airway's getting obstructed. So the first major thing we have a concern here is her airway. So the old adage goes, no airway, no patient. So the most important thing we can do is either find a way to take control of her airway or fix it enough to where she can breathe on her own. You got any ideas maybe what we do? We have her on oxygen.
And is the oxygen making an impact?
Well, it looks like her oxygen saturation's going up a little bit, but her airway's definitely swelling shut at this point from an unknown reason.
Do we check for allergic reaction?
Well, yeah, we always could look for any hives, any sites of obvious irritation. I mean, she definitely is having some airway distress. So, if you want to go down the anaphylaxis allergic reaction route, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
All right, let's give it a check and see what comes back.
All right. If you look where Medic 8, just kind of checking here and where you were checking. So she's got that really rash around her lips. And she's got some hives. All right, so medicine we're going to give is epinephrine. Because she's an adult, we'll give her 0.3 milligrams. So in your red bag, it'll be in the medications compartment. Jab it in her thigh, hold it for 10 seconds, and then massage the area to get the medication in. So the next thing we're going to do at this point is we need to stabilize her airway a little bit better. And this is really where kind of the medic side of things are going to medicate. Let's get an IV, push 50 milligrams of Benadryl, IV push. So another thing we could do, Garrett, because she's at risk of losing her airways, we can give her something called a nasal airway. It's a little rubber kind of tube that we put down somebody's nose to keep their airway open. Garrett, do you remember how I told you for patients, they're really sick, is the EMT you can start an IV?
Yep.
I'm going to walk you through starting an IV real quick.
Okay.
So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to reach in your bag, you'll grab out your IV kit. So it'll have a needle, an extension set, a saline flush, constricting band tourniquet, tape, and a tegaderm, which is to cover it. So the first thing you're going to do, apply your tourniquet and look for a vein. When you find a vein, you'll go ahead and clean the area really well. Take your needle, depending on what size you want. For her, I'd recommend a 20 gauge, which is kind of middle of the road. Go ahead, and make your stick. Do it flat to the patient's skin. You never want to go in like a jabbing motion. You want to go in almost like a gliding motion across their skin. When you start to see blood come back in the chamber, that's called a flash. You'll push the tube forward, attach your extension set, and push sterile flush through to make sure that it's in the vein, it's all good, and secure it with some tape and tegaderm. We definitely should probably get the structure for her. She's really not looking too good. All right, you're gonna take over CPR for me. So push hard and fast, center of the chest.
Doing CPR.
Perfect. FP1 to 1000.
Still nothing.
Still VFib. Let's shock.
Okay.
Everybody clear?
Clear.
Shocking. No conversion. Continue CPR.
Continuing CPR.
Of amiodarone, 300 milligrams. All right, let's shock again. Everybody clear?
Clear.
All right, we got a pulse.
Perfect. There we go.
Super, super weak, but it is good. All right, let's get her on the stretcher. Let's go to the hospital as quick as we possibly can. All right, Garrett, priority 1 to the hospital if possible.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, medic 8, continue CPR. I'm gonna draw the milligram epi.
There we go.
Okay,
there
we
we
have
go.
pulse back.
Got a pulse?
It's really, really low, but we have a pulse.
That's good news. It's at least something.
All right, push 1 milligram of atropine. We're gonna try to keep that pulse up. Actually, you know what? Scrap the atropine. Hook the pacer up. I got capture. Oh, pace at a rate of 70. Awesome. This is really great. Actually, we've got. Granted, it's assisted, but we've got a pulse.
Better than what we had before.
Absolutely. Anything's better than what we had before.
Which was nothing.
Well, not bad, guys. Not bad at all. That was good teamwork by everybody.
So, after action report, victim does survive, although it's going to be a bit of a recovery because she did take a decent bite out of a crab apple. Why she did so and why she swallowed it is another story in of itself.
As the chief of the unnamed island, Egg County Emergency Medical Services, I would like to award you, through successful completion of your training, the rank of Emergency Medical Technician of the Egg County Fire Department. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. I
Here's a
appreciate it.
complimentary cone.
Oh, I will cherish this.
As the head administrator for this community, and as the guy that kind of basically just runs the joint at this point, all I gotta say is, when do you leave? I want to get back to my round.
Oh,